Hey, a federal judge in Washington, D.C. blocked a push by the Trump administration for voters to show proof of citizenship on the federal voter registration form. This comes after President Trump signed an executive order in March that called for sweeping changes to American elections. For more, I'm joined by Jessica Huseman. She is the editorial director of Vote Beat, a nonprofit news organization reporting on elections and voting. Jessica, thanks for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right, so talk to us about who this judge is and what did she rule?
This is a longtime judge that was initially nominated by Ronald Reagan, and she ruled in no uncertain terms against the Trump administration here. I want to be clear, it's just temporary, so this case will go on. But right now, the executive order essentially is not in effect. So all of the steps that organizations like the Election Assistance Commission or DOJ, for example, would take in order to comply with this executive order have been put on pause.
And this was not a brief ruling.
No. Oh, it was 120 pages long. Yes, so that was a fun read this afternoon.
And she did that in less than a week, I think, so that she's clearly interested in this particular case. Okay, so as you mentioned, this is temporary. So what's next?
So what's next is that, well, there are several other lawsuits that have been filed against this same executive order, and this ruling deals with some of the executive order, but not all of the executive order. And so those cases will continue along. And so it's kind of difficult to say what the ultimate goal of the Trump administration is with this. This is a several-part executive order, and every single piece of it is being challenged by at least one organization. But for now, nothing is in effect, nothing that will change for voters. And so if people are worried that they might have to present different forms of ID at the polls, if they present for a municipal election that's upcoming, they can put that worry out of their mind.
So, I mean, what you're saying is in the meantime, nothing changes, status quo. He's going after a lot of different aspects of voting, including voter ID, something that he's really mad at the way it works here in California. Of all the things that he's doing, what do you think has the best chance of actually succeeding in terms of changing at the courts?
I think that's a really good question. The question of documentary proof of citizenship has been one that federal courts have thought about for some time, and this is not the first time someone has attempted to require documentary proof of citizenship, and it hasn't worked so far. We will see if it works this time around. I think he probably does have a little bit firmer of a leg to stand on in terms of the way that he's written about mail in that executive order. So he has made consistent the date by which all ballots need to be received in the United States, and I'll be interested to see how courts dispose of that. It's not something that's ever come up before.
And so what's the date that he wants?
He wants Election Day. So if your ballot is not received by Election Day, it does not count. California has a pretty long deadline for getting y'all's ballot back because you are vote by mail state.
Yeah.
Other states have specific deadlines for veterans, for example, who are sending their ballots in from overseas that are slightly different, even if the rest of the ballots have to be in by Election Day.
Yeah, in this state, they have to be postmarked by Election Day, but they can be received some 7 days later, which is why it takes so long to count, some 3.5 weeks to count. And you see some of the other states that get sooner. But people in this state say it allows more people to vote doing it this way. So it's interesting. Thank you so much for the perspective. And I love the Life magazines. Very cool.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
What a great
my grandmother would be thrilled to hear you say that.
What a great background. The FDR one, very, very cool. All right, votebeat.org is where you can find more information about elections and voting.